Good morning, Ryan. It's nice to see you. I'm going to introduce you to the people that will be watching this. Hello, everybody. Ryan Coetzee. This is an interview with him. He is the former CEO of the party, and he is currently a strategic consultant. I have asked Ryan to consider answering some questions, and he's graciously agreed to do so. So I'll step right into it. Thank you very much, Ryan. Ryan, my first question is, a lot of people thought that with the DA's result last year, that the country is in a worse place because of the loss of the support for the DA. If that is the case, what do you think it would take for the DA to grow?
Well, first of all, hello, Mike. Nice to see you too. Yeah, look, that's the million-dollar question. I think a couple of things. First of all, I think the DA really has to attach itself emotionally and intellectually to a clear cause. A lot of people like to think that, the problem with parties that lose votes is strategy, but really, strategy is like the steering wheel on a car. It helps you navigate a path from A to B. But the fuel in the tank, the stuff that actually makes the car go forward, in a political party's case, is a sort of intellectual and critically an emotional attachment to a cause. And I think the cause in South Africa for the DA has always been really to promote this idea of, freedom people can use, substantive freedom, the sort of freedom that allows you to be yourself, the sort of freedom that protects your rights, gives you the space to be yourself, and critically, I think in South Africa's case, ensures you have the wherewithal and the opportunity to live a life you value, as Amartya Sen would say. And South Africa is a country where there are huge obstacles to this kind of freedom. And the biggest obstacle really is poverty, pervasive, widespread poverty. And that poverty is caused in part by South Africa's longer term history, and is also caused in part by the ANC's catastrophic failure over 26 years to put in place the necessary policies, economic policies, but also other policies around corruption, crime, a capable state. But really, I think, what a political party needs to do is intersect with voters emotionally and intersect with voters intellectually at a place that really matters to them. And it needs to identify and drive the issues and find the solutions that really matter to people. I can't emphasize this enough. In the end, politics isn't that complicated. But so what the DA has to do is really actually authentically go out there and fight on behalf of people in South Africa, all people in South Africa, for a future that gives them the kind of freedom that we believe in. I think that's the first thing. And the second thing then is to put a strategy together that can help the party do that compellingly and effectively, and to stick to that strategy systematically over time. And I think this is really critical, to make the tactical choices that reinforce the strategy and not to make tactical choices that undermine the strategy. But actually, you're going to make the right choices, not the wrong choices, if your heart's in the right place, if you really do have an attachment to improving the lives of South Africans and delivering this kind of freedom that people can use to live the kinds of lives they want to live. If your heart's in the right place, your tactical choices are generally going to be right. But if your heart's not in the right place, that's where it all comes unstuck. And so the underlying challenge is really about the cause, not about strategy. The strategy and the tactics will follow if you really attach to the right cause.
Thank you very much. Well, some people might say, well, that's great for the DA, but so what? From a broader perspective in society, do you think it's really necessary for the DA to grow, and why?
Well, I think it's critical for the DA, not necessary, but essential for the DA to grow, because, to be honest, and I don't want to be pessimistic, but my analysis is that South Africa is heading in the wrong direction, has been heading in the wrong direction for quite a while, and is going to continue heading in the wrong direction under the ANC. South Africa needs a different government with a different philosophy, animated by different values and implementing different policies. And you're not going to get different with the current government and with the ANC. It has got to be replaced. And look, it may not be realistic for the DA to aim to win a majority anytime soon, but it has to get itself into a position where it can influence the direction of the country. And whether that's through coalitions, whether that's through winning lots of power at local and provincial level, whether that's through cooperation with other parties potentially. If you get that kind of thing right, it's not easy to do. But whatever the route is, it's absolutely critical for the simple reason that South Africa is going to fail unless the DA succeeds.
Thank you. You chaired a review committee that conducted a review of the party after last year's election. Your review report made critical comments regarding the toxic environment that existed within the party. What would you do to resolve this, in your view?
Well, that's a very good question. And the trouble with the toxic environment, or an environment that's characterized by sort of conflict and internal drama, is that once that horse is bolted, it's very hard to, go and catch it and put it back in the stable. But so the first ingredient actually is leadership. I mean, the leadership of the DA at every level, I would emphasize this, at federal level, at provincial level, at local level. Leaders have got to see their job as being a job of two things: taking the party forward and bringing the party together. Yeah. And look, if you bring the party together without taking it forward, we're not succeeding for the people of South Africa.
Sure.
But if you try to take the party forward without bringing it together, you're actually going to undermine your ability to succeed. So leadership is the first thing. People have got to reach out. People have got to understand that not everybody has to agree on everything, that sometimes people have different views. Of course, they're conflicting interests. People have their own interests in politics. They've got careers to worry about and so on and so forth. But leaders have got to, as it were, reach across the aisle and find a way to find common ground for people. I think that's critical. The second thing I would say is that, and we said this in our report, there's got to be a way of reforming the sort of disciplinary and quasi-legal processes that unfold in the party, so that there can be non-quasi-legal ways of resolving problems. Not every problem needs to be solved with a disciplinary hearing and lawyers and a 9-month process. And I think serious adults who care about the country can find a solution to that problem. And if the party can't find a solution to that problem, then it is only itself to blame, because, come on, I mean, seriously, of course we can find a solution to that problem. And I think leadership at every level has got to commit to that. It's got to start right at the top, but it's got to be all the way down.
Thank you. It's one thing to do good things, and I think that if anything that the DA can pride itself on is that independent analyses show that where the DA governs, it governs better. So we've got this, we pride ourselves in our track record. However, communication is another thing. In what ways do you think that the DA is succeeding or failing in communicating? And what can be done to fix whatever may be broken?
Well, I think a couple of things. I mean, first of all, the DA needs to think hard about how it communicates its emotions. So not just its opinions. What makes one angry in life as a person tells you a lot about what a person cares about. So what makes the DA angry, and what is the tone in which and the feeling it brings to its communications? Number one. Number two, what are the issues that it cares about most? Look, I mean, I think South Africans and I think the world knows that the DA thinks the ANC is bad. I don't think anybody's in any doubt about that. If convincing people that the ANC was bad was the way to win more votes, I think it would have happened by now. So actually, it's about the issues that people care about and showing people that you care about those issues too, and that we can do something about those things. So in other words, there's a kind of a strategic requirement around communications to understand what you need to focus on and how you need to focus on it and what kind of emotion you need to bring to bear to those things. And then what you've got to do, of course, is put behind that an infrastructure that is smart strategically, that is smart tactically, and that can operate at high speed and can make good tactical judgments. You've got to get public representatives to focus externally on the issues that matter, not internally on the internal party stuff. You've got to have staff that can deliver this and provide advice and do the technical work in a really effective way. And you also have to be cutting edge about things. It's also about, the quality of visuals and the quality of writing and the quality of of events and all of the above. Because at the end of the day, I think it's critically important that the party tries to maintain a position of being at the cutting edge of, quality political communications, across the world. I mean, that's the standard the party should seek to achieve. But it starts, as I said earlier, it starts with understanding what the issue should be and bringing the right emotions to that, and then putting the infrastructure behind that.
Well, that's great. Thank you very, very much, Ryan. I think we would be foolish to ignore the words that you would bring as somebody who has been right at the center of a period of growth within the party and its fortunes, and also as somebody that has had to apply your mind in these things in various places for various organizations. I think that those of us within the party that don't listen to people that are somewhat distant from the coalface, I think we do ourselves and our cause a disservice. We really need to be able to look to people like yourself that have the benefit of standing in a different position to give us the advice that you've given, and I think that your advice is 100%. So thank you for your time. And I pray, that everything would go well for you from this point further. Thank you.
Well, Mike, thank you very much. And while I'm physically distant, I'm a loyal and dedicated member of the party. So happy to help.